some questions that I'll go over. And yeah, today's thoughts, we will begin with, I was just driving here. I just got my teeth cleaned. I love getting my teeth cleaned. And if anybody needs a dentist in New York City, I have the best dentist in the world. And I had the worst dentist. And so I'm trying to move everyone from that dentist over to this. I have to use my influence. But this woman is incredible. And so it was a great experience. Hello. And so we were just driving here. And as we were driving here, it's very cold in New York right now, very, very cold. And when you're confronted with stuff, and I was looking out, and there were all of these people who were sitting, at the where the steam was coming out from the subway in order to stay warm. And then I saw this guy just basically face plant sleeping on the street, and then I saw this woman. Apparently, calling 911 would be my guess. And it hit me like, oh, there's so much drama and upset out there. And it hit me like, I think this woman was worried that this guy had passed. And that's not uncommon here in Harlem. It's happened 3 times that I've seen it on the street here. So it's a thing. And then it hit me, there's all of this like tumescence in the world and all of this upset on social media, and then there's like the very real on the ground care, and really I think what it would take to transition a lot of this hysteria is to actually just care for the people who are right here right now. And so many of the questions that we have are about where the attention's going, and I think it's like if you live in Harlem, you see how much is needed just right here at home in your own little neighborhood. So I mentioned yesterday I like many of the things. Well, I like the things that the Dalai Lama says publicly. I'm sure I'd like the things he said privately as well. But one of the things that he said, is if you really want to do major bodhisattva work, if you want to save the world, it's like save your own home. And that's kind of where I got to today, after my little I asked for a lighter day. Maya posts does my posts. I write the posts, and Maya posts them. But I have a whole range from like love letters to like my Lady of the Mycelium Palace videos, and that people are like, oh my God, to like just some sort of warm philosophical thoughts on how to get through life. And then I have some instruction manuals, and then I have like my tips for how to my 110 tips or something for how to elevate your mood, how to alchemize your mood. And then I have like and then I am the daughter of wrath, and we will go. And Maya seems to love the wrath one, so she just kept posting them. I was like, Maya, can we cool it down a little bit? I can't go to war like this anymore. I could. I just needed a little break. So so it was a little bit warmer. Although I got maybe it's less interesting if the warm ones. I don't know. I got one woman yesterday wrote all I remember is that at the end she wrote "do better." It was about my love bombing and how irresponsible it was to call it passion, and and I sometimes the most frustrating thing is it's like, look, woman, I will teach a class on this all day, and you can come for free, but it is going to take you that long to understand how indoctrinated into a culture of powerlessness you are, and how you holding this stance is basically holding the shackles of your own slavery. And I'm doing my best here to break you out, not break you in. That's what I want to say, but really what I said was, I so look forward to the day when that tone is no longer popular. That sort of like, do better, or like, read that again. You're just like, wait, what are you doing? Are you like a 12-year-old who's trying to act like their mom, looking tough? I don't understand. And that's what the whole white woman internet, it sounds like at this point, I don't know. We can do better. we can do better than that. And we can actually talk to each other like we're human beings. And you can say like, fuck you, I fucking disagree. Let's talk about this. Like that, I would respect. But that sort of passive aggressive, supercilious, smarmy, snarky bullshit, oh God, it's like kill me with 1,000 gags. I can't stand it. So anyway, that's I hope that wasn't, well, maybe she wants to be watching. Yeah, so what I want to say is all of these ideas, what you have to do, sometimes I just sit, there's this, what is it, a statue of one of the Maitreya Buddhas. So Maitreya Buddha is the Buddha of the future. And, my life is actually dedicated to setting that path down in whatever way that I can to usher in the consciousness of that Buddha. That's what my life has been, the secret portion of my life that's no longer a secret. But there's one of the images where he's sitting like this, and he's sitting like that because he came to Earth with all of the medicine, and everyone basically kicked him out. He was wondering, he's sitting there wondering when is the window going to open for him to re-enter, for human beings to take the medicine. And I think that's so beautiful, and because we're so in that time. Dry soil beads over easily. And so we're a very parched culture. What are we parched of? We're parched of Eros. Eros is what would make it so that it was fertile and rich, and it could absorb nutrients, it could absorb sunlight, it could absorb everything that it needs. But we don't have that. And so what happens is a fair, a somewhat well thought out idea will enter, but it just beads over, and the immediate immune responses knock it out. It's like if you, and they're so, oh my goodness, they're so sensitive. They're so sensitive, and not sensitive like a Porsche, sensitive like a bomb or something. They're like, it's like you cannot. There's such fragility, right? Everything triggers something because it means something. So, for example, the idea that there's no such thing as love bombing is an idea really you could only have if you were a free person. But so why is that? Then you have to walk it backward. Now, see, if someone were to say something I thought was really stupid, by the way, this is how I fell into the libertarian trap, because they said something I thought was stupid. And then I followed it, and it was actually very smart. I had to change my mind. And that's good. Changing your mind is good. That's honorable. That's noble. That means that you learn. That means that you have your experience guru intact, and you're just growing and evolving like a human being should and is. So, so the idea, I'm just going to say it like, so you have to think about it. How could that be? Because it's so clear that love bombing is a manipulative action. But then you have to ask these questions. Well, so if I'm being manipulated, like, who am I? Where am I in this equation that this is happening? How could it even happen? Oh, well, they're so manipulative. By the way, that's one of the things that you'll notice is all of these terms will define themselves by themselves, because there is no further definition, because it doesn't go any deeper, because it's not true. So, okay, so they're manipulative. So then I'll say to people, okay, well, what is manipulative? Well, that is where they have a personal agenda. And their behavior is tricky. Okay, well, so let's just talk about the person who's on the other side. Don't they have an agenda? Because see, you can't manipulate me unless I have an agenda. That's just so you know the punchline. That's the punchline. There is no way to manipulate me unless I have an agenda, unless I have some kind of projection that I'm putting on you, a silent, more often than not, demand that I'm putting on you. There's nothing there's nothing you can do to me. That's how the definition of a con man, the very definition of a con man, is somebody who plays into the place where the other person is trying to get from them. That's the only way you can do it. So then what you have to look at is, okay, so I'm actually trying to get something from the person who's trying to manipulate me. What am I trying to get? Well, often it's proximal power. It's a sense of security. It's a sense of love or romance. It's a sense of being needed or wanted or desired. It's any of those things, a sense of being important, a sense of, and like I say, the deadly one, being special. Special, really, that's the one. And this is the addiction that people do not want to let go. And in order to get free, you got to let it go. And you have to be like, oh, I've never been manipulated. I was only manipulated by my desire to be special. And because I wanted to be special, I had to project onto somebody that they could make me special. So what do you have to project? Oh, you have to project that there's somebody other than who they are, because nobody can make you special. So from the get-go, you're lying. You're lying. You're duplicitous. The manipulator that you're seeing is in the mirror. That's who you're seeing. So then, oh, okay. I have a little bit too much to go in on my Instagram. So you start off with a lie and you project onto someone. And usually, I'm going to tell you that the trick is you're projecting hope and fear onto people. And wherever what you're projecting to be, you fill in the gap with your hope. Your hope it will. It's a spin doctor. It's a spin doctor. And it will lie to you in your own voice about why that person isn't behaving as the person you want them to be. See, now the reason that they're behaving as a person you don't want them to be is that they're not the person. They're not that person. But you are so determined, and this is the ailment. This is a major ailment of our time, is the ailment of hope and fear, and thinking that those two projections have power on outcomes. So we think that he doesn't call, we'll say. And so we think he doesn't call, oh, it's only because he's too nervous to get that close to me, or whatever shit your girlfriends tell you in order to make it okay that he didn't call, or he didn't call. That's just because guys do X, Y, Z. Whatever justification comes into that space, that is where you are the culprit. That is where you are responsible. So the minute somebody isn't who you want them to be, and you fill that space by telling yourself they would or could become that. Now, mind you, there are people who are not who I want them to be. And so I just say, they're not who I want them to be in that way. Okay, adjust my GPS, adjust my expectations, adjust who I think they are, adjust how I treat them according to who they are with me. Very little to do, by the way, with who they say they are. Because the other thing to remember, and this is, as we reduce everything, we forget this, people lie to themselves. That's the other thing. So we have this idea that they are deep and tricky and manipulative. Most people aren't that smart to be manipulative. It's actually a compliment to say that people could have that much attention off of themselves in order to be that smart. No, they're lying to themselves. And then those lies just roll out of their mouths to you. And then you know what? Then you're lying to yourself. And then those lies roll out of your mouth to them. And then when they work, when the lies work, oh, that's where it's romantic. When it's not, that's where they become a narcissist and you become a victim. That's all. But it's all a conspiracy. You've co-conspired, and the way out is to never project expectations onto anybody. That's the simple way out. Trust people to be who they are. Oh, okay, but they change. Yeah. So then trust yourself to pay attention in every single moment to who someone is and adjust accordingly. And I'm going to tell you the secret part of this is that's where you stop being an asshole, and that's where you start being a bodhisattva, because as a bodhisattva your job is to be for and to contribute. And as long as you need anyone to be anything for you, anything, and I mean anything, including your mother, As long as you need anyone to be anything, as long as you need your mother to approve, as long as you need, guys to check you out, as long as you need anything, you are enslaving the world with your expectations and robbing them of your offerings, because you can't offer from a place of need. And so that's what I wanted to say to my little woman on the Instagram, and then it's like, oh, but that's just like the alcoholic who, it's like, if you had the childhood I had, you'd have to drink too. It's like, if you had the childhood I had, you would have to engage in a conspiracy with somebody, and where you split roles, and I got to choose the victim role and they got to choose the manipulator role, but it's all co-created. So then the very hardest part, this is, I would say, really for women and for recovery, is that you have to own that shadow creation. Every single place that you have ever been angry at somebody, you had the counterpart. Everyone. It could be as simple as an expectation, or as complex as overt denial, or as complex as people pleasing, where you don't like something and you don't say it in order to be liked, and then just build up rage and resentment until it explodes. Like, all of these are the same things. They're just the passive side of the dance. And you have to understand, anytime you're angry, you have been in the dance. The anger is the signifier. I hate this bullshit. You're angry because your boundaries have been crossed. No, you're angry because you've been a thief and a liar. That's all it is. It's really that simple. And so then, and I do want to say, more often than not, you're expecting this moment or this person to be something other than they are, or than they want to be. So you have to realize, oh, so I want to enslave them. Like, I have this really, really, really wonderful friend. I mean, like, a truly wonderful friend. But there was a point where she just really wanted me to be someone other than I was. And she knew how, I'm Italian, we like hospitality, we want to please people, we want everyone to be happy. And she knew that. And I would say to her, you don't know how it feels to not live up to your expectations, but I can't change who I am. I think part of the reason that you love me is that I refuse to violate who I am for anyone, including you, but it really hurts. It hurts to be not living up to this projection that you have of me in a way that I know that I never can. And if I did, I would be harming both of us. And that's what we do to each other. And then we call it love, expecting someone to be something other than who they are. I mean, especially when your job is to foster and support who they actually are. Now, sometimes, and this, again, we're going to get into the wrath, because sometimes you have to do it by spanking their butt and getting them out the door to be who they are. Like, that's also love. That is, I'm going to tell you, then we're going to all answer our question. That is infinitely more loving, to spank someone's butt, get them out the door. I'm not talking to you till you, whatever it takes. That's the, an andamoima, arise according to the need of the times, arise according to the need of the times, whatever the frequency is that you can meet them, do that in support of them being who they are. But you have to understand that being like, you get out the door, is infinitely more loving than, oh no, I love it. You get it? That's harmful. Or just those, those aggressive withdrawals. No, I just need to self-care. No, you're sitting in rage, then I'm not living up to your expectation. That's all. It's no more complex than that. You do what you got to do. And like, I used to think it was loving to go get people in the cesspool of their rage. Now I'm just like, no, that's not loving for you or for me. We are not, only one of us needs to have battery acid on us. The rest, if you want to do that, that's up to you. And that's Bodhisattva part 2. That's what I learned. It's just, okay, that is loving. A very loving thing is to let people do and be who they are, even when who they are is seething at you. You just have to be like, okay, I love you over there in the seething. Got to go. Okay, so we'll do a question. If anybody has any question, you can raise your hand today. If not, I can do one of these. I can do one really fast now. But when you say women are now allowed, do you mean by men? It seems still dependent on the male gaze. First of all, I don't fucking believe in the male gaze. But secondly, see, that's one of those. See, we're in the deprogramming class. So that's just one of those. And Naomi Wolf did that. Naomi Wolf and I had words at one point. We did not get along, but then she ended up being really cool on a few things. So she's in probationary acceptance in my world. Not that she cares at all, but I will say, it's sort of like there's language from inside the cult and language outside the cult. Okay. That whole idea of the male gaze, that's from inside the cult. So we were talking yesterday about the cult inside, or samsara, whatever you want to call it. There is only limited power in this. So everyone is transacting for the limited amount of power that's available. And so some people are selling their souls, and some people are working really hard, and some people are fucking in order to get close to someone who they think has power, or who can save them, or whatever. Or all those places where you supplicate, and then all of those places where you dominate. Like you're dominating in the ghetto. Like, who cares? Like, that is not an impressive thing. No, getting out and being the lowest peon outside of the samsaric cult of anti-sex that's the heroic move. Like, you could be the lowest of the lowest of the low in the free land, and you are higher than, king dominion or queen dominion of the samsaric cult. And so you can tell, you just begin to listen. We're gonna begin to do some more semantics, and so I want you to begin to listen, if you want to, for any language or ideas that have a notion of immutable power implicit. Okay, so the male gaze, this is the piece that I just pray that in this lifetime I can teach this one piece. I have about 1,000 of them, but this is one. And that is a man. Oh, do you have that one picture of adornment or decoration? There's like 2 women next to each other. Anyway, so a man could stare at me, and he could catcall me, and he could be like, vagina, 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 big tits, vagina, vagina, whatever. And then he could look at me, and he could look at me like, I am going to subdue your vagina. And he could do anything he wants to do with that gaze, okay? Now, see, this is the danger. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Okay, well, somebody who has a stake in the game of the idea of power does. It takes just a normal everyday thing. Peacocks put their plumage up, and men send dick pics. It just happens. It's just nature, okay? But so then the question is, what is your response and why? Now, I'm going to give you the trick. The trick is you get upset because it gives you a sense of power in a powerless world. So now you're one up. He sent his dick pic. He's so proud of it, little guy. He's so excited for you to see it. It's all hard today. And but so he's there. He's just looking for a little, pat on his head. But no, you get upset and you have some sanctimony. Sanctimony is one step of power higher than the low-grade animal action of sending a dick pic that shocked your system with arousal, by the way. Because arousal is the actual power. So you wanted to top him. You wanted to dominate him. So you dominated him with scorn like mommy. You became mommy. So the whole idea, oh, this is my cute little thing. Look how cute this is. So women are not decoration. Clearly a woman who is not. And then I love this woman next to her. Some women aren't, like you, little Birkenstock babe, but I am. Okay, now that I like good play. Okay, that's good. That's some good play. And what you see her doing is playing with this idea that you can be objectified. See, she's actually wildly radical in that one sum, because she's saying, I have the power to determine how I interpret the gaze. And how I interpret it is, I invited it with my beauty. That's a truly powered, we'll talk about the inside the cult and outside, a powered perspective. You can always tell when it's somebody who says, I have the power to define this circumstance. The powerless one says, I don't have the power to define it. Somebody else does. So the implicit idea of the male gaze is that there is a power dynamic that you cannot play with because it's true. So you have to understand, if I'm saying there's such a thing as the male gaze, I am supporting sexism. Do you get that? If I'm saying there's such a thing as a gaze having power over me, a gaze objectifying me, objectifying means freeze in a static way according to one's desire or projection. So if I'm saying that gaze has the power to do anything over here, then I'm complicit in the idea that there is what is the word? A power differential. I'm complicit in that. And then not only am I complicit, I agree to it. And when I agree to it, I give it power. And when I give it power, that makes it so. And now the gazer and I are inadvertently in a game of sexism that has affirmed that women are inferior and can be objectified. But here's the thing, because in that moment you want to do something. Why? Because you're aroused. And we just haven't learned how to work with arousal. All of these things are going to be arousal based. Arousal will come and you'll see somebody will want to employ control in some way. So the trick, though, is that you just simply cannot take the bait. You can't. It's called give second terminal to. You look at the stove and you see something that's red. You think it's hot, and you touch it. And because you're certain it's hot, but you aren't sure, then you touch it. Now you have second terminal, okay? So I'm feeling insecure, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example, something I would feel insecure about. But that place where, I know. This is a real hot one these days. The world is going into fascism. And then, and then somebody comes over and says, not only that, but I saw an article that, okay, that's called second terminal. You give second terminal, that's called giving reality to something. It is dark magic. Those are the dark arts where you give reality to something rather than keep it in its open, dynamic state where all things exist and where all things are naturally equal. So all of the things that we're doing for equality, what am I going to say here? Condition inequality. They make inequality so. But you're like, no, man, I'm hurt. You know, men don't listen to me. Michael doesn't listen to me. I'm hurt. Okay. So when people are hurt, this is when they're vulnerable and when they're likely to make reality, when they're likely to put their own shackles on. Okay. So you have to look really, every time you've ever put a shackle on, every time you've made a deal with the, you know, I see. I have so many thoughts at once. There's this really, okay, so every time you've ever made a deal, there's this really cute video of this Black Panther, and this woman is the animal talker, and the panther's just walking back and forth and kind of growly. And it's the only time this caretaker has ever had an animal be so growly and violent. And so the animal talker comes up and she's talking to the animal, and the animal's name is Diablo, and it's a Black Panther, and he says, I don't like my name. And so I don't want to use like the devil word. It's just so beautiful. So they change his name to Spirit, and then he gets really happy because he feels acknowledged. So I think that's beautiful. So where was I?
Every time you've ever made a deal.
Oh, every time you've ever made we'll say a dark arts deal, every time you've ever made a deal that puts your handcuffs on or your chains on, is because your feelings were hurt and you looked for a quick fix, trying to feel better than it, reason. So now I'm going to tell you. So one of the things women say is he mansplains me, or he doesn't listen to what I have to. Men don't listen to what women have to say. This is a big one, right, Kevin? Just joking. Or he thinks I'm stupid, or there's a whole series of things. Well, actually, when you really, really do the work, because this work I've done for a long time, it's that men don't understand a word women say. That's all it is. It isn't that he's not listening. It's that he's trained his male language is linear. So it's linear. It's a problem, and so he's been raised since birth to speak this language: linear, problem-solving, factual language. Women have been trained since birth to speak feeling tone language. Although we often can speak male language, we don't as much as we should. But feeling tone language, multi-dimensional or multi-tracking language, as you just saw me do. And so then what happens is you're literally speaking to a man in a foreign language and then taking personally his response. Now, here's the funny thing, because what men do is they're just like, you see these jokes, how to tell what a man wants and how to tell what a woman wants. And the man's is like 2 pages and the woman's is like reams and reams. And like, he just tries to figure out what the heck she's saying. He's just there, right? Now, this is an empowering ascription. This is saying we are 2 equal people. I can afford to understand why he looks at me blankly when I talk, when I still know that he loves me very much, right? But I can afford that because I have enough power to not take anything personally. That's what real power does. It doesn't take anything personally. It's just like, oh, wow, that must be you. Let's figure out what that is that would have it be that our connection isn't making that this brilliant thing that's coming out of my mouth, you wouldn't understand, because that would be the only reason. That would be the only reason that you would look at me like that or mansplain something to me. Clearly, you do not know that I understand. And then you would begin to employ the necessary things you need to employ. For example, I think I mentioned yesterday, I just have men talk to men. I find men, I get them, I teach them feminine speak so that I don't ever have to change my language. And then I have a few who are translators, and I have them talk to other men. It's not a problem at all. And I can afford to do it. And then all of a sudden, the only reason I couldn't afford it is that then the men who are talking for me get the credit. But I'm a woman. I don't want credit. You don't want credit. That's a big ass burden. You just let those guys be all puffed up with their, they're so happy. And then they just got their little reward. And then you got your message sent. That's all you care about, right? Because you're a bodhisattva. The only thing that you care about is actual connection and communication so that people can get free in the way that they need to get free. It is not personal ever. But you only know that when you're outside of the cult. You only know that when you have your power. So you can know that anytime you're taking it personally, you're low power. So you can just look at that. That's your gas tank. Your gas tank is anytime you're taking something personally, your gas is low. What do? You turn it up. How do you turn it up? With arousal. How do you turn up arousal? Eros. Got it? Very simple. It's all math. Anytime you're ever looking outside of yourself, low power. Anytime you're trying to appease outside of yourself, low power. Anytime you're trying to impress outside of yourself, low power. Anytime you're intimidated, low power. It's all low power because full power you knows that you're connected to all things. You're all the same. It's not like your molecules are any different from my molecules. And in about 5 seconds, your molecules are going to be over here and mine are going to be over there. They're just all dancing around. They're the same thing. So you know that on this side. But on this side, in low power situations, the lights are low. So it looks like there's outlines and shadows. When you turn the lights up fully, there's no outlines, there's no shadows. We're all connected. It's all the same. Love you, love you, love you. That's all there is to do. And a little bit like, bad girl, whatever that is, you can do that. But on the inside, with the lights lower, the shadows and the seeming separation happens. And then you try to figure out, who you are, who they are to you. Usually what you're trying to do is figure out how to trick them into a place where you can dominate them. That's all. That's really what it is. And women's domination is from the position of victim. That's women dominate by being victims. And oh, what a tyranny. Oh, what an authoritarian tyranny that is. I'm making a joke because I said don't ever listen to anybody who uses these words, but but I'm using them with humor. But you have to understand all of these things. So we talk about manipulation. That's all there is. That's all there is in the low power world. There is nothing else. There is overt manipulation. That would be the narcissist, who's actually more honest than the victim person in this scenario. And there's that particular dance. But that's all you're doing is trying to exchange for dominance and control in one way or another of what? Of the narrative. That's it. And then you want it to be that whatever your particular narrative is dominates, rather than just enjoying the myriad narratives that exist. I mean, it's so much more interesting to enter into somebody else's world than it is to try to get everybody to hop on your stupid caravan. I mean, oh my God, you have to drive the horses and, then you have to feed all these people. It's terrible, just for ideas that aren't even that interesting. I mean, although, I won't say my politics. Okay, so that's what I say for now. Okay, I'm ready. We got some questions online. We'll start and or Oleg. There's no sound.
Nope.
Mia?
Yeah.
Oh, hi. So sorry. I didn't hear. When you were talking about the most loving thing is to let people be who they are. And I was just wondering, is there any room in that statement for wanting more for others than they want for themselves?
Then I will say that is, we talk about the journey of the Odyssey. and all of these islands that you have to go to in the process, we'll say, of awakening. You know, in my experience of the islands that I've been to thus far, that is the most challenging and bearable island. Really, in that one, you are having to negotiate the fundamental heartbreak of free will. You know, they talk about, you know, God loved us so much that God gave us free will even to reject God. And so you're getting the hologram of that heartbreak in your own heart, of having people reject their own freedom or their own joy, and to not reject them for rejecting it. That's the, you know, it's like this dual track that you have to shore up in a certain way and allow them to do what they're doing. And by the same token, you know, I always say, and leave the lights on. You know, like I have been, and I'm fortunate that I'm such a difficult person, that because I've been the prodigal daughter, and I've run hard and fast for my own freedom with a lot of attitude and a lot of flail and a lot of thrash. And I think the gods were generous enough to have me be so defiant, so that when I see defiance, I understand, first of all, that person is in pain. And secondly, if I go toward them, I'll inflict more. My only job is to absolutely say, no matter what, the lights are on. If you ever want to come back, come back. And to not, and also to not act like, because I remember being like, you think you know what freedom is. I know, right? And so to not act holier than thou, to not, it's like, maybe you do know what is, you know, right for you. And then the other piece that I do that has saved my life, because this really is the heartbreak of heartbreaks. It just is. And it's the one that you have to be at a certain elevation to know. So nothing but compassion here. But the other piece is, I have known enough people for a long enough period of time to know that that running from their freedom is often going through the karma that they have to go through in order to come back in a more solid way. And, you know, that's one of the beauties of a 12-step program, is you watch people go out and they had a very tentative recovery when they were in before, and now they're back and they're totally taking advantage of the program. And so when people are out, I just, you know, I wish them well. I pray that they're in a karma that it will exhaust itself. And I pray that I have the courage to always keep the door open and the lights on.
We'll go to Carol next, if she's still there.
There's no Carol. Oh, there she is.
Hi.
Hi.
I just want to say I love you. I love how you just keep showing up, you doing your thing with a smile on your face. And
I love you.
And that's always true. So I was asking, and I'm not being facetious, but kind of tongue in cheek, if you know that you're being manipulated and you go towards anyway, are you being manipulated?
Absolutely not.
I didn't think so, but
Yeah.
other people have like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, it's the choice I'm making.
Well, I think if you are so manipulation by definition is unconsciously being maneuvered. So if you're conscious and you're being maneuvered, that's just hot. That's what I say. Maneuver me as much as you possibly can. You know, you've met Drupon, I'm sure, and you haven't seen him, so he's
online, but not in person.
He's my dear brother, but that human being is always maneuvering me. Mm-hmm. Always. Now I know he's maneuvering me for my greater good. I have no doubt. But like, thank you. I am so sick of maneuvering me. You do it as much as you want it, as much as you can. The reason, so remember, we're going to make the distinction in the powerless world. Everyone is afraid of looking like a fool or being taken advantage of because you're always in power dynamics. And in a power dynamic, you can't afford to look foolish. And you can't afford to be taken advantage of. You lose points in the power system. But if you're outside of that, make a fool of me. Do it. Oh my God. It's so much fun. Like there's this great story of this dominatrix who she had a submissive, and the submissive wanted to dress up like a goose and wear a leash and be walked in public. And the dominant talks about like, my submissive topped me because I was so humiliated out walking her. I just love that. See, that is what you're describing to me, is that kind of play where both people get to have this very uncomfortable human experience that is the intimacy of what we call manipulation. You know, somebody moving you and you choosing to move where they move you, that's called a dance. So I think it's a wonderful thing personally. But remember, I don't ascribe to the notion that manipulation exists. And I will say, interestingly, I mean, I have almost never heard a man say that women are manipulative. It's just not a common thing. It's a common thing for women. Now, here's the funny thing, is that women are far trickier than men. They're a blunt instrument. They're just like, basically, I want some sex, like, you know, and a pat on the head. Like, those are the things. Like, it's not that complex. And so he's not like maneuvering for it. It's like in a world where there is no food, he's desperately trying to get food. The way I watched this beautiful movie about this orphan in, oh my God, not India. Maybe it was Bangladesh. Anyway, and like this kid was so cunning and tricky to get food. And you're like, okay, is he manipulating these people? No, he's just trying to get fed. And so that's my 2 cents on that. But yeah, my thing is, if somebody, oh my God, I used to always say, if you can manipulate me, do it. Like, let's have some fun here. If you, whatever it is, if you can dominate me, preferably from above, not from below. I've been dominated by plenty of victims. So I would prefer to be dominated by a daddy or a mean mommy. And so that's we do not know where we're going today. We're in a good mood. My teeth are clean. We're good. Does anybody else have a question or want to talk about something?
We got a few questions that came in from online.
I really like you in this role.
Zoe,
our talk show host.
And if you have questions and you're streaming in on Instagram or YouTube, you can go ahead and type it in the chat and we will get to it if we have time. Zoe asked, I see a paradigm shift happening between fear, separateness, and connectedness in the world. What do you think about it, and what do you think will help the shift more?
Play. I mean, I think play is the only way. And but the thing with play is that when you're playing, you I mean, with you guys a little bit more, I can give up my game, but like, you can't admit that you're playing. But at the same time that you can't admit that you're playing, you can't take the game seriously. Now that's tricky. You know, you are in the middle of a full-on war and just having the time of your life and enjoying it and learning from it. But you have to appear with you know, a lot of gravity, always to get people to drop the ball. Just drop the ball. Drop the ball. I know. Just drop the ball. Drop that seriousness. You got to drop it. That's the only way because there's one healing that is needed on the planet. There's one tikkun olam, and and I would say it goes deeper than love. It goes to sex, and that is the arousal that occurs when the parasympathetic nervous system opens. I'll put it, I'll make it sound scientific for people. But all that needs to happen is that people can live in a state of arousal, that without impediment, that state of arousal occurs as bliss. It is a self-cleaning oven. You don't have to do all this picking and staring and picking the scab and cleaning. You don't have to do that. You just turn up the arousal faucet and everything heals. It's a little bit uncomfortable as you purify, I'll admit it, but if we could just do that, if we could just turn that volume up, then, the healing, all things self-liberate. That's really, all things self-liberate. So you have to turn up the valve that would have them liberate. Well, how do you do that? And why don't we do that naturally? Well, why we don't do that naturally is that we live in a low power world where the valve is turned down. When it's turned down, what happens? We conserve. When you conserve, what do? You contract. You're conserving heat out in the frozen tundra. You contract, right? So you're conserving. And so you have this world of contracted people walking around. Their systems locked down so that when arousal comes through them, it hurts or jars them. It's shocking. It's scary. So they hit out here rather than open and relax here. And so that's one of the reasons why, I throw in my humor, even though my attorneys, as I said, told me to stop telling jokes. But that's one of the reasons that I do it, is that you have to constantly be inviting this parasympathetic nervous system to open. And the number one thing that you can do is laugh, or even laugh at yourself, or even chuckle at yourself, something of that nature. That's really the way to begin to get it open. The other thing that I do is I'm scarier than people's fears. I mean, you know that there is a world that is terrorized by the trauma industry, telling them that if they get out of line for 1 second and make a joke about trauma or love bombing or manipulation or abuse, then they are on that side and they are the abuser. They will be taken down the way this team has been taking them down. Right? That's the constant threat. And so you just have to not be afraid of their tactics, and you just have to be bigger than the fear that's driving them, so that they say to themselves, because I remember there have been a few people in my life where I said, "You can do that? Wait a minute. You can do that?" And then I saw that it could be done. And I saw that you could live without fear of what everyone around me, including myself, was afraid of. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it for myself. I'm going to see if I can do it. Then I get this shit kicked out of me. But I kept trying. And then now I do it, right? And so you get bigger than the things that everyone fears. So then you have to step out here. And you have to say, what is it that everyone is afraid of? Well, we're in a low power culture. The thing that everyone is afraid of is being seen as a bad person, because we're social animals. So belonging is the top priority. So what you have to do is constantly conform and appease in order to make sure that you always belong. So there are systems that are in place. And so we have a very Western idea about what belonging is, and you have to appear virtuous. That's the rule. Oh my God, you cannot say, and that's one of the reasons why I go hard on women, right? Because you can't say anything about women. There was this stupid post about how, oh my God. Like, dear everyone, I do just want to say this. I'm going to say this. If you're out there comparing this administration, who has killed nobody at this time, to Hitler, the crime that you're doing against Jews is, I'm going to say, what did that woman say to me? Be better. That's what I'm going to say. That is, that generalization of something that is very true in somebody's history, that is an affront. That is disgusting. Do not let your resentment get to the level where you are ignoring real things that happened in people's lives. That's just a little PSA that I had from today, so I don't know where I was, but I meant it. Oh yeah, you have to not be intimidated by anyone or anything. So what do you have to do that? Well, you have to face down every demon. And so then you have to look at what are people afraid of? And I can tell you, it's not looking virtuous. And I can tell you though, oh my God, the virtue script is like Marquis de Sade made this virtue script because it is such a tight corset of forced behavior. Oh, why would they have a tight corset of forced behavior? Because if you want to control a culture, you have it be that only limited things are acceptable and nobody can express freely and openly. That's why you do that. So, oh my gosh, you break it. And this is what comedians used to be here to do. And there are very few who have had the courage to stand up in this time. Dave Chappelle has done a superb job, as has Ricky Gervais. He's so funny. I think I have one at the end of today too, don't I? A comedian? I don't know. Or tomorrow, I don't know. I have all these great videos for you guys. I keep collecting them, and poor Sophia keeps sending me the list that gets longer, and I don't play them because I get going on my rant. So anyway, you look out here, and then here's the thing though, and this is the heartbreak, and this goes back to the first question, because there's this heartbreak when you see the racket, and I'm just going to call it the oppressed racket. Being a woman, I can claim this role. And then you see how, these systems are creating each other, and they're actually keeping the systems of oppression in place. And so you get the badge of virtue if you agree to keep the systems of oppression in place. That's what it is. How do you do it? You save those people. And that's what I was going to say. Oh yeah, somebody put up this post about they took the NASA women off of the website, that, there were these women astronauts. And I was just like, I don't want my name up there. Why do I need to be acknowledged? Of course I can be an astronaut. I'm awesome. When you acknowledge me specially, that's saying, oh, this is a shocking, abnormal thing that a woman made it to this place. It is reinforcing sexism. But you can't see that from inside, because from inside the cult, you always just want it a little bit better. You want it to be that this little lady gets acknowledged and then two more ladies can come and do it. No, what you really want is you want all the ladies. Free all the ladies. You want all the ladies out of the cult. And then they can say, this is stupid. Rockets are stupid, you guys, with your big phallus rockets. That's what we can do. We can just totally redefine it however we want. We can say, why are you guys so concerned with going up there? Let's go down into the mushrooms and the mycelium, man. You want to get high? Eat your high. You could do it the way a woman would do it, rather than having women scratching and scrambling and then getting their little badge for being inside of a man's thing. And look at this lady who most women are just so backward and inferior, and she made it to the top. There's hope for other women. No, that's sexism. Take the damn thing down. That's what I say. Okay, it's 2:59. I love you guys.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nicole. We have a couple of reflections. We'll start with Becca online.
Hi again. Well, Nicole, I'm just so grateful for this map you're creating for us all at once, in the last few days. And it's like so much truth just resonates. And I feel like, anyway, you're being so generous. And I just want to thank you for that. I feel like it's such generosity, and it really moves me. And today, there's so many things today, but just to keep it short, the first thing that really hit me is when you said, as long as you need anything from anyone, you're enslaving the world with your needs. And that just hit me like, well, I just felt so much power, like from that somehow, like, whoa, I can take that on, and it is so beautiful. And the other thing, you're such a model of play and humor. And that's clearly, such a gift, the gift. And I think, that's what I want to develop more in myself. And I just love watching you model it and sharing so much with us. So thank
Okay,
you.
I'm going to make you a deal though.
Okay.
And when did I meet you? How long ago? Like a year and a half?
About a year and a month, about it. No, about
A year and a month ago, I met you, and
Yeah.
you've been going hard, right?
Yep, I have.
So we are now officially shoulder to shoulder. Shoulder to shoulder. That is the only thank you I ever want, is that we just walk together like sisters. Good deal?
I love that. Thank you. It's a deal. It's a deal.
It's an honor.
Thank you.
We'll go to Jillian next.
All right. Hi, Nicole. Oh my goodness. I get to talk with you.
Beautiful woman.
Thank you. You too. The last gal, Becca, she just mentioned this two things I had, which was play and laughter. And I want to get that out so much. One of my biggest things that you were bringing up was like, if you can get someone to laugh at themselves,
That's right.
especially about the stuff they're in fear about, because it's all festering. So when they actually laugh from that,
That's
it's
right.
like the most amazing feeling. And then like you both heal, then they know that they're seen, that they know, like it's all just like a beautiful connection. And then the arousal thing with this gorgeous practice that I've only done 2 times now with the like I can see where it's going.
Yeah.
And I learn so every single microsecond I'm learning, whether it's my irritation, my connection, my
That's right.
talking, my demanding, my not happy, my turn on. I mean, the whole thing is so much there's so much depth there. I'm like, it's like blowing my mind. So, and I love how you talk about the erotic, like just like coming from that place, because being in a school where the spirituality was definitely there and the boundaries and and all this, the erotic was missing.
Right.
And so for me, after being asexual for like 5 years, like coming into that, because I didn't know how to do both.
Got it.
But I was like trying so hard to do this thing to whatever. And now it's like, wow, this like the erotic's so fun. And like the humor is just, it's so juicy, the humor. And like, because I laughed my first I laughed halfway through it, like giggling,
right.
laughing, kind of like a girl,
That's
and
right.
that helped me to release my laughing. So I want to thank you for that. And it's nice to be here with you.
It's
and
so
everybody
nice. I mean, I sometimes I just give the reflection that I have in somebody's presence. You are born to move people's nervous systems. You lift, I don't know where you have a certain stability to your nervous system, but a willingness to have a lightness over it so that you aren't necessarily, so that the attention isn't on you. That is absolutely lovely.
Ooh, thank you. I love that.
Thank you.
Keep on shining, girl. I look forward to your next call.
All right.
And
See you on the other side.
We'll close with a
Wait,
final.
what about Kevin?
Oh.
This is the only time he talks to me. I miss him. That's my coach.
That's right. Yeah, that last bit about the rockets and the astronauts, you really are giving Chappelle and Gervais a run for their money, and look forward to seeing you on the Netflix stage.
I love you. And then, wouldn't that? Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. You really do believe in my Aikido, don't you? Love you.
And I have one final one that came in from YouTube from Hanea. I'm learning so much from Nicole, to be honest, in comparison to this wisdom. I have not learned anything from any woman of my family and tribe. I'm very grateful about this liberation.
Oh, I'm deeply moved. Thank you. I'm honored. But I'm going to say we honor all women. So whoever taught you to have that level of graciousness that was passed on with beauty and the capacity to articulate with such grace. Those are gifts that were maybe invisible, passed through you, that made it to me. So I'm grateful for all of the women who came before you and you coming here.
And that is all for today. We'll be back here on Friday with Kara at 1 p.m.
I don't do Wednesday? Oh, I can't do Wednesday. They said I'm not allowed to.
Friday.
Friday. Oh God. Okay, I'll miss you guys.